about the oil prices, which could in fact reach uncharted waters if this entire conflict between Israel and Hamas escalates. This is according to the World Bank. The World Bank actually reported on Monday that the oil prices could be pushed into quote-unquote uncharted waters if the violence between Israel and Hamas widens, which could result in increased food prices worldwide. The World Bank's commodity market outlook found that while the effects on oil prices should be limited if the conflict doesn't expand, the outlook said that quote-unquote would darken quickly if the conflict were to escalate. Now, the attack on Israel by the militant organization Hamas and the ensuing Israel military operations against Hamas have raised fears of a wider Mideast conflict, and the World Bank report now suggests and simulates 3 scenarios for the global oil supply in the event of a small, medium or large disruption. CNN News 18, Siddhant continues to stay with us on the phone line. Siddhant, if you could just break down this entire breaking that we read to our viewers, how are the oil prices going to be impacted because of this escalating war between Israel and Hamas?
Look, right now the two countries are involved, or perhaps the two groups are involved, which doesn't have much say in the prices of oil, or perhaps are not the oil prices are being controlled by the open market. But these two countries doesn't have a good share of oil shale. There are 3 scenarios which have been talked about in this World Bank report. Usually going by a small disruption, then the scenario is that the oil prices are expected to decline. So the current level of roughly $90 per barrel could come down to $81 per barrel. Now, if medium disruption takes place, equivalent to the disruption that happened during the Iraq war, the global oil supply of about 100 million barrels a day would decline by 3 million to 5 million barrels per day, driving oil prices up possibly by 35%. But in times of large disruption, suppose if it becomes a major conflict or a regional conflict where many other players become a part of it, and many of these players are the oil suppliers of the energy suppliers of the world, then in that the category would be of the large disruption. And if you remember, in 1973, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, perhaps ordered to stop the supply of oil to United States and other countries, and that perhaps became a big problem for these countries. Now, if that situation comes up, then the global oil supply would shrink by 6 million to 8 million barrels per day, and prices could go up to 56% to 75%, or to $140 to $157 barrel. So situation is critical, and perhaps this particular report which World Bank has put out, citing 3 categories, is more important for countries like India, which out and out rely on for the energy consumption part on the Gulf countries and on Russia. So both these region, in Russia also there is a war going on. But despite that, because of the success of our foreign policy, we are managing to get oil at the cheaper rate. Then if this will